Hello again. So in this task we're going to build on the things that we did in the last task, and to do that we're going to make a presentation about British values. While we're doing that, we will cover the things that we missed from the previous task. So these are copying and pasting. Now, you've done a lot of copying and pasting before, but in PowerPoint you have to do it in a particular way so that things make sense. You're also going to insert images. Again, you've done this in Word, but it's slightly different, and you just need to be sure that you're inserting appropriate images. We did do that in the last task though. And we're going to also learn how to change the background colour, quite simple to do. How to use something called search and replace, and that's used for searching for words and replacing them with a different word. Sometimes it's easier to get the computer to do that for you than for you to repeat yourself many times. Computers are much better at doing repetitive tasks. Then we're going to also look at headers and footers, and also the way that you can print things from a presentation. These two things are related because the way that the headers and footers work depend on which kind of printout you're going to do. Okay, so that's the short introduction. The best way to learn this stuff is actually just to have a go at it though, but first it's probably best to just watch how I do it and then have a go at doing it yourself. So let me just remove that. I'm just going to use this though. I'm going to keep it open just so I don't miss anything out. I'm just going to use this to guide me. So in this task about British values, you've been given all the files that you need. They're in the normal place, in the Learner Resources folder, in the Functional Skills course, and if you look inside British values you'll see there's a bunch of files. Now you might not see them straight away like this. If you click here you'll be able to change the view. It might be they're only listed like that, or they're large icons. So there's a lot of pictures here, and we're going to use some of them because they are related to the subject of the presentation. But there's also some text files. There's two text files. There's British values and there's one called electric guitar. Which one do you think we will be using? There's also a file here which you're not going to use, but it's there just to show that sometimes you get files that you don't need. You're welcome to have a look at it if you want to. So let's firstly have a look at some of the pictures. So we have angry men. So this is actually a picture from a film called 12 Angry Men, and it's about a jury. And you'll see why that is important later on. Juries are what help decide whether people are guilty of crimes, serious crimes. We have a ballot paper. I think you all know what that's for. And then there's this, which is a list of the 5 categories of British values. And then this is the Civic Centre, Wolverhampton. So this is something to do with the government, of course. And then this is a gavel. That's used in a court again. Then you have a referendum paper, or a pretend one anyway. And then there's something called habeas corpus, which is a bit of a technical thing. It's to do with the history of whether people can be imprisoned. And then there's a quote from John Stuart Mill, who's a philosopher from the 19th century who wrote on many subjects, but on one of the things he's most well known for is the subject of liberty. And then you've got another picture of a jury. and then there's a picture of a politician, a local politician called Pat McFadden. He's the MP for Bilston and the surrounding area. There's also a picture here of what's known as a peaceful assembly, a protest. And then there's a quote from somebody who believes in free speech, and he's saying free speech is not just another value, it's the foundation of Western civilization. Maybe you agree with that, maybe you don't. And then there's a poster or a drawing about tolerance. So all of these things might be useful in the presentation as images to make the presentation a bit more interesting to look at. It's really up to you where you put the pictures. I'm going to show you a couple of examples maybe where I'm going to put pictures, but you can put pictures differently to me when you do the walkthrough yourself. So anyway, the first thing we have to do is take the text from here though. This is the text for the presentation. So this is the heading or the first slide, the title slide. This will be the next slide, the second slide. This will be slide 3. This will be slide 4, slide 5, slide 6, and maybe even a slide 7 if we want to add this bit as well. So each slide though has a separate line at the top which is for the title. So that goes in the box at the top, in the title box. So that should be copied separately usually. There are different ways you can do this. I'm going to show you one way, but there are other ways. So to do this then we need to have this open, but also we need to start a PowerPoint presentation. So again, like before, click on Start, type in the word Power, and then click on the choice. You'll get a PowerPoint window open up. If you want to make it maximize, you can. Remember, you've got the notepad at the bottom here and the PowerPoint here as well, so you can easily switch between them. Okay, and you'll need to do that when you're copying and pasting. So that's what I'm going to start to do. So on the title slide, I'm just going to copy this British values. So we go right click and copy, and then I'm going to go back to PowerPoint here, and then I'm just going to put this into there and paste it. And in the subtitle box, I'm just going to put my name. So you should do the same. Quite often when you do a presentation, on the first slide will be the person who's doing the presentation. But we need quite a few more new slides, so I'm going to make some now. So we right click and new slide and new slide and new slide. So that's 1, 2, 3. I think we were going to have 6 or 7, so I'm going to make some more. New slide, and I'm just clicking here between the gaps now. You can do that. The other way to make new slides is you can go Insert, and you can insert a new slide. I'm sure you can insert it this way. No, you can't. No. Oh, sorry. Here it is. New slide. So the other way to do it is just go New slide. This gives you the option to choose a different type of layout though. Normally though we're going for title slide and content. So I have now 7. Might use all of them, might not use all of them. Depends on whether we do the last slide or not. So now we have to start doing the boring part really of copying the text. So I'm going to highlight all of this, copy it, and then go to the presentation again, paste it and into there, and then there's a heading missing now. So I need to go back and get that. So you should always check that you haven't forgotten the heading. So copy it. So you have to do it in 2 goes usually. So that's one slide done. And then next one, go to Notepad. So I've done that bit. So I'm going to do the heading first this time. Copy it. Go back to PowerPoint. Paste it. It's very boring actually. And then highlight this bit. Copy it. So this is a lot of right clicking, remember. New PowerPoint presentation. Oh, wrong one. And paste. So there's a lot of information on that one. So I'm going to make the box here a little bit bigger if I can. So it might look a bit better. There we go. Ooh. And I'm also going to move it up a little bit. So you're allowed to do that. You can move things around a little bit. But you shouldn't get things too close to the bottom, because there are some special boxes that we will learn about later on today. And they live at the bottom here. We don't want to get in their way. Yep, so that's slide 3 done. So I'll go back to Notepad. I'm going to copy this bit now. I should probably speed this part of the video up, but I'm not going to. And copy this here. And paste. So this thing about Raz and Bingham, these are the people who have written books about this subject. So sometimes on presentations you get references. The person will tell you where they got the information from. So this person called Professor Raz and Professor Bingham, who have written books on the principles of law. They're the real experts on this. So I go back to here, yeah. Oh, wrong one. And I'm going to copy. No, we've done that bit. Doing John Stuart Mill now. So John Stuart Mill, as I said, he is a philosopher from the 19th century. But a lot of British principles are based on his writings, especially about liberty. So you might want to have a look at what this information says, because sometimes people don't realise what liberty actually is, and they misunderstand it, and also the difference between liberty and rights. They're not quite the same thing. They're close, but they're not the same. This one here hasn't been formatted correctly, so you can see there's a heading though, because it's in capital letters. So we'll copy that and paste that. And then underneath we're going to put the rest of the information from this one. Copy and paste. Now I'm not going to do the last one. You can if you want to. But it just talks about the Equality Act. It's not necessarily specifically about British values, but it is related to the mutual respect and tolerance. So now we have a fairly long and fairly boring for most people presentation. So one of the things that we did in the last presentation is we indented or demoted some of the things. If you notice, some of the things have these little dashes on them. Yeah, quite a few things have these little dashes on, but they're just to indicate where something needs to be indented. So I'm going to click on that line. I'm going to highlight these 2 lines because they both have a little dash, and I'm going to indent them. Okay, and then I'm going to the next slide, and this one needs to be indented or demoted, and so does this one. Let's have a look on this one. Nothing on this one, but there are many on this one. So accidentally moved a box. I'm going to go to undo, and sometimes you'll do that. It's quite tricky sometimes in PowerPoint. It doesn't work the way you expect. demote it, and these two here, demoting, and all of these, oops, done it again, and all of these items here will be demoted too. Okay, so now we're going to put in some pictures in, but before we do that, it's a good time to save. So File, Save As, and save it in your normal folder, and don't worry about saving it in a particular folder. You can just call it British Values for now. Click on Save. Now that's kept it safe, so you won't lose it. If you make a mistake, you can go back to this point.